teams from time to time, but this is the main squad. This is JZ69, Zippy, as well as like an AA, who are uncontested for the best players in the server for the moment. They had a bit of a rough start coming into the ROS Global Series for the Southeast Asian Regionals, but didn't take them very long to retake their title as top of the table, and they don't seem like they're going to give that up anytime soon. Currently head and shoulders above the entire competition.
Absolutely. Looks like we will be dropping down onto Gili Island here as we begin. The plane coming in from just over Research Edifice and only cutting a small part of the island here as well. So a surprising amount of teams actually going past Bitter Lake, but as we know, there are some teams that definitely have a home base of sorts, always tend to go towards the same place.
You'll see NRX go towards logging camps, and you won't see any other teams try to pick a fight against them, hence you can see now that big open void around the logging camps area. No Thai teams here, so the observatory will be pretty much unoccupied.
That was yesterday or earlier today as well with NA.
But we will have 2 teams heading towards Rust Bay. This will be SEAL Team as well as War of Elite, the 2 Rust Bay teams playing around that area. For 1 team over by Windcliff, and a couple of squads moving towards Massout Factory as well as Echo Valley. So let's see when the first circle is going to spawn. It does go towards the west where locking camps are, so all the early dropping teams will have to make a quick rotation into that circle if they don't want to take zone damage, but first 3 zones, not going to do enough damage for them to worry about. They may just sit outside and loot for a prolonged period of time. But it does start the Southeast Asian early game where we won't have too much happening.
No, that's definitely the key. One of those big differences we see between the regions that, especially in the meta as it exists right now, the SEA teams tend to avoid early fights. And it's kind of evident by this big split that we see of teams on the map. About half the teams inside the circle of play, the other half outside and completely far away from it. So we should have a pretty prolonged looting phase, and, you know, join us, kick back, relax, take off your shoes, stay a while. We'll be getting into some action about 17, 18-minute mark, maybe a little later.
Not too long. Well, we'll see how this goes. Ayab and the rest of BDS still looting, Fatal still looting for the moment. But we're just going to take our time with all of this. Southeast Asia very well known for not picking fights early on, disengaging wherever possible, and instead taking the easiest approach to the early game. This is one of the new players from SEAL Team. They have moved away from edge training frequently, so we'll have to see if bringing in new players is going to do any work for them. This might not be the new player, sorry, might have that wrong.
Yeah, take a look at those rosters in a second. We'll talk more about it, but yeah, it'll be a little while before a whole lot of action happens. So extended looting phase, which means the teams will be probably a lot more geared up than what we were used to seeing in some other regions. And then we'll just see where they end up actually placing themselves out if we get any interesting fights around some of these larger compounds that could still possibly happen. We say it's a slower game in the early phase, but it doesn't mean there isn't anything that's going to happen. As TikTok hops his way into the truck there. He'll be joined by the rest of his teammates. Going a little bit of a cruise. That's kind of how these games tend to go.
Kame, Mr. Lonely, TikTok, and Lancer just going to be driving around for Just Team. This is one of the squads. It's previously known as F9, and Ziff as well as Chicken that used to play on this squad with Lancer as well as Akame have moved on to the NRX organization. So they've been signed by the Vietnamese organization of NRX. And hence you see TikTok as well as Mr. Lonely coming in, which they've had big shoes to fill, but so far have looked very good for F9, currently sitting top of the table for the Vietnamese region as a whole and have taken control as powerhouses in that region. It does feel like coming into this season of the competition, the Vietnamese regions have fallen off slightly, and we did see that quite heavily when we had the crossbow meta as well. That's when the Vietnamese regions really started to fall back behind Thailand and behind the Philippines. It has been the case so far for this tournament. The Philippines has really taken control of that second spot. It's just very difficult to judge the other 4 teams' performance when every single week, without fail, they have to go up against NRX.
Yeah. I don't think you can entirely blame the Vietnamese slumping, though, on a team like Just Team, since they are the leading representatives from that region. They have been the best team in Vietnam this season so far. That being said, you know, as a whole, you're absolutely right. There is definitely some stepping up to do. Let's take a look at NRX John as well. Or, excuse me.
This is WAFFF.
WAFFF. I got debated by the name tags again.
They're just moving around, looting from place to place. Again, No early confrontation. Teams have been disengaging since the start of the match. Not looking for any early fights.
No, definitely not the case for a little while. So the most action we'll probably see is somebody wailing on a car with one of those
Rubber
hammers, which is terrifying. Because it looks so, you know, so fun and cartoonish, but then it murders something. We actually we saw someone die to a rubber chicken earlier today. I can't get that out of my head.
But it is the slow part of the match here. Very, very slow early game. We do have the early circle being slightly on water, so we could see some earlier fights. We'd expect the first few skirmishes to take place around 14-15 minutes, and we'll have 1 or 2 fights before that. Shouldn't expect too much more.
All right. I want to see if any of these cars actually run into each other. One of those things that is another big difference is seeing kind of these car strats come in, honestly, a little bit less in SEA than even in NA, where NA teams kind of will fight each other in these cars, but they'll much less likely use them to just go from one loot place to the other, comparatively to the Southeast Asian teams. They both do it a lot, but it's a lot more about just the transportation in SEA as opposed to actually trying to hunt for anyone.
We thought that Call Me might just run into Just Team from Vietnam there, but not going to be the case. They do take a different route. And you can see they see doors open, immediately they move away. It's not in their nature to start fights very early on. All the teams know how risky it is, especially when you have a tournament that spans over 5 weeks for group stages. But we do get the first fight of the day, and it's NRX that have picked a fight against Just Team.
Yeah, TikTok goes down, looks like 6-9. Zippy as well. So a little bit of turnarounds. JZ was actually able to find a little bit of damage. I was about to say, what is the earliest, or what is the latest that we've seen a kill in SEA? Because I think it's gone 6-7 minutes, so this doesn't quite make it that long. And all of a sudden, inside the house, we've got a lot of back and forth here. 6-9's going to be able to find Lancer. Mr. Lonely, TikTok, they're all down, all eliminated, and that's a lot of quick picks.
The NRX getting 4 kills. They're going to lose Zippy. Well, that's the only player from the NRX squad that falls, and they take down one of the stronger teams of Just Team. First squad to be eliminated in this first match.
It's a bit of a surprise, Just Team going down so early because, you know, they are one of the better representatives out of Vietnam, and, you know, this is kind of a big blow to that region that's been trying to get their points back on the board. They're going to have to rely on some other teams. Of course, they're not all in conjunction. You know, they're not all communicating with each other and trying to, in-game, win it all for one region, but to see the top competitor from that country fall down so early in this game doesn't bode well.
It's the last chance that Vietnam can actually pick up points as well, so they need to make this count. Just Team won't be too happy with that. They do have a nice gap between themselves and second place in the Vietnamese region. But so far, not enough to justify a last place finish in the first map of the day. They did run into NRX, however, it was a very poor fight coming out from the Just Team. You know, standing in the middle of the compound, out into the open area, allowing NRX to get the jump onto them. Only really focusing on executing Zippy, which ultimately led to the final 2 players falling.
It looks like we're looking at BDS. Now Mac kind of coming in as a part of that team. Interesting to see what he's going to be able to bring here. NRX moving their way just to that little compound to the east of Thermal Power. It looks like Call Me hold up in this house not too far away as well.
You can see NRX don't want the fight. They only have 3 players. There's no reason for them to try and pick a fight that early. So just duck behind a house and then simply disengage. You have Fury Roads here, making sure that any truck that comes this way is immediately turned back around.
Yeah.
Sent back where they came from.
On the other side, non-aggressive invasion. It's we come in peace, at least until 20 minutes. Taking a look at that mini-map as the circle will shrink. This is actually going to force a little more action as it goes on since we still have a fair amount in the ocean. But again, the teams in Southeast Asia tend to resist that until the very last minute. We only ever see those skirmishes that are very quick, very decisive, oftentimes just between 2 teams and none others. So it's very quick and efficient gameplay. But a lot of teams sitting outside the zone and pretty happy to do so. Med stratting still the name of the game. This is Gao team.
You can see that a lot of the Southeast Asian teams that loot inside the Gaslight Gao team were earlier have picked up quite a bit of gear for themselves. You can see level 3 helmets, a couple of level 2 vests. rocket propel grenade ready. The RPG launcher is there for them as well. It's the newest addition. You can find them in the environment or through loot crates. So in the environment, you only get 3 rockets with it. Through a loot crate, you will pick up 6 rockets for your time and trouble. And they only just made their way into the zone itself. So they're just sitting inside a small compound towards the northern side of the next play zone. Baby as well just starting to rock up and get into the zone. You can see that even though they're inside the gas, all of them have been back up to full hit points until they hit the rock, just through the overtime meds that they've been using since looting inside the gas itself.
Absolutely. Now, you mentioned the RPG. I'm really curious to see how this actually affects the way the SEA teams play, because there are a lot of teams that really do, sit in the house until the very last second, get a good loot spot off, obviously, and then just decide, you know what, this is nice, we're going to camp out for a while, see what we can do. RPGs can change that a little bit. There is a massive AoE spread, and, we've had people talking about how this could be the second coming of the good old crossbow grenades that were nerfed not too long ago.
Yeah, we got to look at it. It's not as powerful as the crossbow was. The projectile speed's a little bit too low. You only get a handful of rockets every single time. Even if you pick up 2 in the open environment, that's only 6 rockets to use. Unlike grenades, where you can dump 20, 30 grenades into one person. The projectile speed is so slow that it only really works close and medium range skirmishes. So it hasn't had that huge effect that we saw from the crossbow just yet, but it's still a very powerful tool. You expect every team to at least have one person pick it up. Baby in some trouble. They're forced out of the vehicle here just below BDS.
Yep, going to be tossing a couple of grenades inside that house. Bim firing away, but I don't think he realized where all that damage is coming from, so it looks like Bim is going to go down right after he gets knocked out. Baby able to pick up 1, and a chicken grenade goes into the house. Lodi making his way forward. He's going to have to make a run for it. And I really don't think they expected that amount of damage to start coming through. Baby's going to be taken over.
And look at how far away the rest of Lodi's team is. Baby are going to take over this compound. They'll split up 2 and 2. The pre-fire comes out as well from Duenta, and that's just really poor decision-making coming out from BDS. They're not grouped up in the same compound, but they still chose to pick the fight against Baby.
Yeah, a little surprised to see them play that way. I think I saw a lot of good stuff from BDS last week, and overall maybe rolling them a little bit together with all the other Philippines teams was maybe a bit of a mistake, but losing 2 members quickly like that to the side of Baby, definitely not a great start. Good if you're from Indonesia, though. Looking good so far now. It's going to be another member of Baby downed. Zrav is going to get taken out. Annihilated as well, and 90 doesn't even get the down onto Mac. No, excuse me, he does finally answered on the other side. So a little bit of revenge there, but Baby losing a lot of players.
Poor form, actually losing 2 of their players just to chase down that final member. Both making the exact same mistake as the former. The first place shouldn't have been there. When you're looking for that final player, you should be moving as a squad so that if you do get cut down, you can be picked back up. Or at least defended with some cover fire for the time being. But in that situation, even after the first player fell from the side of Baby, the second still walked in the exact same direction. So they will lose 2 players after what was a really good takeover. Very poor defense coming out from BDS, as mentioned. I mean, split up into 2 compounds. They could have disengaged and fell back into one of the compounds, but instead decided to still continue with the fight 2 against 4 and cost them quite a bit. Most of the teams have made their way in towards the play zone. We only have 2 teams that are outside as full squads, so they're still looting as a squad and moving in as slowly as possible. You won't really see them get there until the next play zone has showed itself.
Yeah, this is a site you like to see, Fish. We only have 1 team that looks like they'll be sticking around for a little while over by Safe Store. And they might be the ones med-stratting. I feel like the other team is moving into the circle, as you said. So we might see a lot less of that strategy here as the circle, the next one to be drawn, will still have some space into the ocean, which means we're going to get real nice and squeezed here.
And moving away from the center of the map as well, so less real estate, less urban environment to take refuge and good positions around. You can see SEAL team have one of the good spots that it's inside this next zone. Got's just looking out towards the east. We can see any of the teams coming into that next circle nice and easy. And they won't have to move until that 22-minute mark, as they are on the edge of the next circle, not the current one. Bren Esports is the team that just made their way into the last circle. They'll be healing back up through their meds over time, and we'll be able to get into the next play zone shortly. Palpad did take a shot or 2, so he's trying to figure out where those shots were coming from.
Brenny Sports, one of those teams that I think have had some big standout performances. Not really consistent so much as it were. I think we've talked a lot about how some of the Philippine teams have these really crazy breakout games and then can fall flat early on in the next. in each of these series. But, give some credit to their team captain, Pow Pow. He's been pretty true to his name by getting a lot of shots in, but he does take some unnecessary damage driving through on this Jeep and gets dropped down. As I praise him, it looks like we're in for a good old caster curse. Pow Pow getting dropped down. Now Zeldrin's Reyno, they're all here as well. Like an AA, looks like he was going hunting.
And you know what? He may have set that up for himself, but at 6-9 that gets the kill, and the rest of Brent Esports are slowly falling as they just drove past too many teams. Only with a Jeep out in the open. They get cut down one by one, and Tina Pei, the last player with Reyno left alive for the side of Brent Esports, and they're not done yet. They're going to run to another squad.
Yeah, they're just going all over the place. It's a full-on tour of Gili Island. The problem is the locals are a little hostile here. Looks like Kikapaji is going to get down. Tina Pei inside the house. They combine nicely for a 2-on-1.
That was very nice from Tina Pei. Actually moved around, but Reyno's going to get knocked down by this grenade.
And there's the chicken grenade coming through. Reyno's knocked down, and Ayatats is going to be able to help clean up house a little bit with that RPG. Ayatats didn't know that was about to hit him, and Tina Pei is still up here, and finally he's going to fall to Majapagi, but they took a lot of players down with them.
A really nice use of the RPG. We'll give them 2 players in return, so extra 20 points and cuts down Majapagi's squad in half. So the Philippines teams actually wrecking one another there.
Back over to Gao team here. We're looking at some beach and grassy knolls action as Gao team kind of trying to get a little bit of extra damage onto the opposite side over there. It looks like it's going to be Delusion who's giving him what for, as well as Nefter kind of bringing up the charge.
Ooh.
The Vietnamese squad looks like they pretty much all got downed, finished off all in one go.
Yep, all getting taken down, so that's going to be 3 kills going up towards the squad. For the first time in a long time, AL actually have quite a few of their players left alive. A very cheeky RPG shot comes out from one of their players, and that's going to hit the building, steal a slight amount of damage.
Okay, surprising performance, but, a welcome one, I suppose. We wanted to see a little bit more out of AL, and now we're starting to. It's only 1 game in, but this is where all the kills start to happen as we started to shrink down. 16, 17 minutes, check your clocks because that's when it's action time in SEA. 35 players left on the map as we hit play zone 3.
Nara falling as well, very early on. AL still alive. They found refuge inside one of the compounds that's inside the next play zone.
Well, that's a good spot. You want to be able to set up. We've seen how important getting good positioning is when you get down to play zones 3, 4, and 5, and especially if you can find a compound that is going to be unaffected by the gas, the green zone as we call it. That's all the more important.
This is World Clubs holding on to one of the compounds just on the side of the circle. So this zone's going to close in about 10 seconds, and then we'll get the next play zone half the size, closing in at about 23 minutes into the match. And that's where all these teams are going to start to fight. Team 9 still outside the zone. They've got 1 player outside the zone, Medstratting, and Team 5 also have a single player that's outside the zone itself. But you can see he's not straying too far away from the battle, making sure that he's close by in case he does need to make a final push into the play zone.
To give some options to the team as well. Looks like our next circle will pretty much encompass most of thermal power, so there's actually quite a lot of compound available for all these players to get into. It's just going to be a mad dash to the finish line, and we're going to start watching a couple members of Will Clubs make their move in here. Of course, looks like he just steals the Jeep for a second. That's Zoe. Not going for it. A lot of the AL members are holed up inside that complex, though, so he doesn't want to try and breach it solo. And then we see the members of WAFF. They're just having a joyride, cruising through and making their way here. Surviving members of Baby will be there to greet them soon enough. That is an interesting place to park.
Yeah, 2 different trucks already inside, so the rest of WAFF actually can't make their way in towards the garage. But now they see all the vehicles that are in here, they're going to be a little bit worried about who has been here before. A couple members of Baby are right behind them, but I don't think they're going to try and take a fight 2-on-4 right away. They have to get the jump onto them first.
I like the setup by Ian Miguel. He's got a really good line of sight. Scope opened up consistently. This is going to make the big difference right now. If they can avoid getting breached inside the house, well, he who controls the high ground controls all the best spots to snipe. But it looks like some teams still preferring to take the ride. So Ian Miguel, hops in the monster truck along with the rest of his team, and they're going to go cruising to greener pastures, of which there are fewer and fewer as this map shrinks down.
Mm-hmm.
Quiet moments here with 35 players left remaining. Fairly typical of Southeast Asia to have these bursty fights that then kind of settle into nothing for a little while. That'll be about to change here pretty soon. A couple of members of Baby still remaining, and monster truck's getting lit up. Not too bad though. Here's Kakarot on the low ground. And Grenade is primed.
That's a good grenade against the squad of WFFF, but nobody out on the open there, so it doesn't deal much. Molotov's going to spread to the inside, make it difficult for them to hold on to the edge of that house itself. WFFF already picking up 8 frags in this match, now holding on to this compound.
That's pretty big if they can actually keep this one going. Will Club's trying to invade. They get Delusion down, and he's going to get taken down, but Triple X is also going to get knocked. Here comes Zoe around the side. It's very slow going, these fights. They're so tense. And it looks like Kakarot, he gets nearly dropped down, sprayed all over the leg. And he's got to hide in that corner and met up. It's going to be Zoe, too.
Yeah, Baby's going to now join the fight. Twente and Co do pop out of that house and look to try and pick the remainder of this battle between WFFF as well as this squad. Go Club's going to lose all their players there.
WFFF definitely won that fight, so Baby coming in to kind of vulture a little bit.
Yeah, it's getting, I think, now they're up to 11 frags in this map alone, WFFF. So good start for the Indonesian squad. Haven't had the best of tournaments so far, but just like we saw in the last split, they tend to ramp up when it comes towards finals time, where they picked up a top 5 place finish in the grand finals of the tournament as the only representative coming in from Indonesia in the last split. So now they've got a chance to do the same thing again, and they're actually looking very good for the first map as Call Me runs into Fury Roads.
Oh my goodness, and this is an all-out shootout. They just drive their truck right into the exploded one, and it looks like Fury Roads are going to come up, or Fire Rose are going to come up ahead to start, but then it starts to turn right on around, bunny hopping left and right to finish this fight off, and looks like Superman, he's just kind of waiting to see if he can find any more members to pick off, and it's just an absolute banquet.
Yeah, Vernmuff going to get taken down here as the Superman banners are going to be picked back up, and they wipe the floor. Fire Rose nice and early. WFFF now looking for the members of Baby.
Okay, aggressive. Actually going to run into this shack here, but he's a little bit outside the zone, or at least he will be very shortly. Checking back in with Seal Gaming. We haven't actually talked about these guys a whole lot because they've been very quietly just staying alive, and that's a pretty impressive performance as well. As he gets size on black, we're going to go ahead and check in once again with a couple more members of Just Team. Just a lot of scattered firefights consistently. There's not a lot of land left to stay safe on, so everybody is going to have to fight for every inch. Seal Gaming, hold up inside this little warehouse here as a car just goes right by Bander Sapu, and this fight just keeps on going. It's kind of a monster truck rally from hell, if you will.
Yeah, Call Me just getting pushed there. Nothing much they can do. Caught in the middle of reloading. Rocket Launcher still going out here from Seal Team.
Oh, and he's going to clip the edge of the opening. Dot still down, and this is a little difficult right now. They need to be able to get him back up with the smoke coming through. I don't think N can really do much, and he gets dropped by a flank from Black. So AL managing to get the kills off at the end of the day and make it work. We're seeing some of these teams that haven't had great performances in previous weeks start to step it up towards the end here, Fish.
AL starting to step up, which is good to see. Seal Team won't get eliminated just yet. They have one player outside med stranding, so they're still in the map. But AL do get the extra 30 points, and they've been winning a lot of these firefights early on today. See 6-9 for NRX is still outside the play zone there. Not sure where the rest of his squad is. Majapagi has made his way inside. He does have one teammate left alive with him for the other side of his squad.
Majapagi, though, in no rush to actually go too far out into danger here. You see all the members of, I believe that's Team AL, hiding in occupied territory. Now we got yourselves another fight here. Aggressive and the rest of WAFFF are going to run straight into Fury Roads. Survivors of that last fight with Fire Rose here. It looks like 6-9 is going to get dropped down, so a great pickup by Majapagi that happened off screen. And speaking of WAFFF, they're pretty much all down, but I think that's going to be it for these guys.
Aggressive's going down. Double F is still left alive. Let's see if WBS can do what he can. Grenade is on, though. And should be enough to take him down. No, he heals back up now, trying to bounce around, hiding behind the tree.
Yeah, making excellent use of his cover, but the numbers do not favor him right now. Fury Roads know they only need to hunt one more member down. Was watching Sickbin try to finish the job, and that will be the knockdown. Chicken grenade, or just a regular grenade, I should say, comes in and finishes him off, but Sickbin unfortunately gets downed in the crossfire. This Chim Chim is going to get taken out as well.
Shield actually taking a lot of shots there, but he does eventually fall, and it's AL that get the kills.
AL are really vulturing well this map. They're just coming in, swooping in, picking up kills when a team has been weakened from these fights. They don't necessarily take the fight straight up. So excellent job kind of sensing that blood in the water when it happens. Chicken Grenade wasn't primed for very long. That one took a little while to go off. Meanwhile, back at Thermal Power.
And our Warriors, a final member here in a fight against members of AL. There's 2 members of AL left standing. The other one's being picked back up now, but I think Play zone a little bit too damaging at the moment for them to pick up their remaining member. He won't be able to stand up inside this zone. Oh, Black actually getting taken down by Jay-Z, so NRX are actually joining the fight. They've just eliminated the AL squad.
Yep, Jay-Z able to spray them down
Baby
here.
Borneo is the last player from AL. Let's see what he can do.
He's just going to have to try and bunny hop his way to freedom. The problem is there's so many exposed areas. If he wanted to try and pick up any loot here, he's going to be in a lot of trouble. So he just wraps around the side a little bit. Hops into the truck, and that one's perfectly good shape. So he's just going to try to hide in this truck and see if he can get the mind games.
He's doing well so far. Baby Borneo actually spotting out that final member of NR Warriors. Hiding inside the compound, just ran past the window earlier. Let's see him right there.
Yep, I'll say an X. All right, so he's just going to have to weather a storm of grenades for a little while. But with only 10 players left on the map, this is where it gets real tight here. Continues to shrink, but we still got this chunk of thermal power actually available. Baby Borneo steps out. He's in caught. Oh, excellent Molotov. Ilsan X is going to have to get out of there. He doesn't get too much damage on him.
No, but do you think if that was a grenade, Baby Borneo would have got the kill there, but goes for the Molotov instead?
100% he would have, but unfortunately this is what happens when you're a little bit underlooted. Sometimes the downside of
he spotted Jay-Z.
Picking up as much. Jay-Z, I don't think that same trick will work twice. He hops back in the truck nonetheless. Let's see if the walls start closing in here. Jay-Z going to wrap around the side.
Xiao is just waiting patiently for him to show. Both of them healing back up. Baby Borneo going for the aggressive play though. Don't think Jay-Z spotted this. No, he hasn't.
No, he's going to get him down. Wait, he didn't take the shot.
Oh,
he didn't have the scope on it. I can't believe it.
That's where you just spray. You don't need to scope. Just spray. That's your fight to take right there, and he's messed it up.
Not everything is lost. He didn't give any positioning away, but unfortunately he missed an easy spot, and it looks like DeWinter's actually found him. The last remaining member of Baby has actually been able to stay in all the way to the top 8 players.
Second last. We still have one more player, Baby, just outside.
Oh, you're right.
Mid-stratting still.
Yeah. So there's a bit of an insurance policy there for Baby.
DeWinter does have a good shot on towards Baby Borneo here. Is he going to take it? Yes, he is.
Yes, he will. And he's down and eliminated. DeWinter, nicely played. Extra 10 points. Pad those stats for Baby. But
So
it looks like
we have 2 teams that are mid-stratting at the moment, so that's going to account for 2 of the 5 last players. And we have 2 players from NRX. Jay-Z and Like an AA are left alive. Napta is still up as well, and then Baby is still up. So it's a 1-on-1 on 2, unless Baby can bring their second member into the play zone. Because Winter's probably calling him and saying, I need you in here, because there's only a couple of other players inside the circle. And 2-on-2, we could take it, but Jay-Z finding him.
Yep,
so
one of the last.
Jay-Z, it's Thuk that actually finds that kill.
And then
right away,
Jay-Z
finds the kill into Thuk.
Okay, so just like that, we're down to 6 here, and it looks like best team, or at least the team in the best shape right now, is actually going to be NRX. Like an AA, you know, he's been a hero of many games here, but he's got to finish the job. WAFFF.
Yeah, 9
kills
kills.
To keep themselves in.
9 kills between these 2 players of NRX, looking very strong so far. Like an AA is just trying to cheat his way in towards closer part of thermal power here.
Jay-Z occupying that high ground. I wonder if they'll try to use like an AA a little bit as bait, try to draw Nepter out a little bit. This is going to be the tough challenge. DeWinter, he's downed. So he's not going to be able to do a whole lot, but he's still within the play zone, so he can buy some time.
His teammate is on the way over. DeWinter does take a bit of damage from a few shots. The teammate is running over, but he is going to fall down.
Yep, unfortunately, it's just too much. Very lethal damage at this point in the game. You can already see Jay-Z's going to need to move as well.
So at this point, it's a 2-on-1, but look at this. Baby's making their run in, spotted out by Jay-Z.
Oh, and Mocker is going to be down. It was a nice attempt, but Jay-Z, no one's going to escape from those sides, so we're left to a 2-on-1. NRX versus WAFFF.
Last player is going to be Napta. Napta going to try and do what he can in this 2-on-1. NRX are just so dominant in these final zones that it's near impossible to try and go toe-to-toe against them. Napta has to come out eventually. He could just sit and wait for the play zone to fully shrink, but NRX do have the zone control, so he would be the one that has to force the play. We might actually go all the way to 30 minutes.
Yeah, very patient, and this is impressive considering that we had such a small land area comparatively on the map, and you know, this is SCA. They like to let these things drag out to their logical conclusion. And why run in there? The worst thing that can happen is you run straight into the spray, you let Nepter get the 1v2 clutch. Don't give him the opportunity. Force him out. He's got a firecracker primed.
Spotted out Jay-Z so he can prime, throw this, look for the quick pick.
Doesn't get it.
Jay-Z jumping down right on time.
Oh, and there they go for the run. Like an AA wrapping around the side. We'll end the round with 2 members still up and remaining. NRX John 316 once again proving that they are the strongest. But seriously, honorable mention there for W8FFF. Coming up clutch with the second place finish.
13 frags as well, so they'll get quite a few points for themselves for that second place finish and should be pretty happy with the performance.
Yeah. Medstratting, it looks like it was Fire Rose that actually managed to get themselves into 4th place. And considering how lopsided their fight went, I think that's pretty impressive overall.
Yeah, SEAL Team as well as Fire Rose both getting the Medstrat off Baby, as well as W8FFF and NRX taking the top 3 spots. Baby were very close to taking the top 2 spot, but their Medstratting player did get killed by NRX as he was moving into the play zone, so that's a little bit unfortunate for them.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's what happens when you try to split your focus a little bit. You need to kind of commit to one or the other. Dwinter wanted him to come in. He gets down.
I just woke up in my underwear, no liquor left on the shelf. I should probably introduce myself. You should have seen what I wore. I had a cane and a party hat. I was the king of this hologram where there's no such thing as getting out of hand. Memories tend to just pop up. Drunk pre-meds and some rubber gloves. 5,000 people with designer drugs. Don't think I'll ever get enough. Champagne, cocaine, gasoline, and most things in between. I roam the city in a shopping cart, a pack of camels and a smoke alarm. This night is heating up. Raise hell and turn it up. Say if you go on, you might pass out in a dream pipe. Oh yeah, so threaten me with a good time. It's a hell of a feeling though. It's a hell of a feeling though. Alright, it's a hell of a feeling though. It's a hell of a feeling though. What are these footprints? They don't look very